Assalamu alaikum to some of you and peace to the rest of you. All right. Tina Knowles did disrespect Richard Lawson. I'll just cut to the chase and say it. Outright, she disrespected him. But she did it in a way that many of us did not pick up on. We picked up on her saying that he wasn't perfect and that she got most of what she prayed to God for. Well, okay. That was actually not quite as disrespectful by itself, but we missed the rest. Less than an hour ago, I went ahead and I watched 2 video clips. One was a clip of what she said, but it was longer so that you could get the full context of what she was talking about. And the other one was a clip from back in 2016 where the two of them were on stage talking about how they met and got together. I didn't have to finish watching it to find the disrespect. What she did in both of these clips was that she stressed that he pursued her. She was not interested in the beginning. She had to stress this. Now, she did that in the 2016 one. In the more recent one from 2018, she said this, and when he said, "You sure that you didn't tell me?" he was playing, and she knew he was joking. She couldn't take the joke. She couldn't do that. She had to refuse the humor, ignore the humor, and nail him to the wall in front of the camera to make it very plain that no, he approached her, he was pursuing her, and she was not interested. End of story. She had to do it this way. That was one of the disrespects because she consistently does this. She did it in 2016. She did it again now in 2018. I don't care if it's true. This is the age of Me Too. This is the age after third wave feminism. This is when that kind of thing is actually illegal in certain ways. It's either illegal enough to cost a man his job, or it's illegal enough to get him into a lawsuit, or it's illegal enough to get him thrown in jail. Various levels of illegality, but it's illegal. It's not something it's not a normal activity. So, I also realize that they're from a completely different time period, but the rules are the same. They went after Cosby for rapes, and they couldn't get him on that, so they got him for grabbing the breast. And I'm going to come out and say it. Cosby was a dummy, but so too were some of these women that were making these accusations because they kept on associating with him for years as though nothing had happened. And then later it was proven that they had taken money to launch these accusations. Not all of them had, but quite a few did. Some of their stories were proven to be false because he had alibis. They gave dates and times, and they were able to prove he was somewhere else during these dates and times. Cosby was dumb, but so were they. So now Tina Knowles has the effing nerve to sit up here and consistently make it plain that this man did exactly that, just to build herself up. There's another thing too, though. In the recent interview, we also saw that Tina Knowles was talking about how at age 59 she moved to a new city and got new stuff, and she mentioned him in the context of the stuff, the new house and the new car and the new something else I forgot, and the new husband. So she's mentioning him right alongside the new possessions. If a man mentioned, even though women pretty much come with other possessions, meaning women go to men that have possessions, the fact is that if a man sat up here and said these things about his wife, everyone would say that he had objectified her. We completely missed that. She disrespected him, but we missed exactly how she disrespected him. We dropped the ball on that. He's a possession, and he's a source of other possessions in her mind. She wrote a list of the good things about herself. When you are assessing yourself for the next relationship, you write a list of your good and your bad traits to try to get a true idea. This woman had self-esteem issues before. She's still getting over the self-esteem issues probably if she has to sit up here and talk about this kind of stuff. She said that she realized she was a bad sister. That's fine. But for one, why does she have to sit up here and talk like this? Secondly, why didn't she build her husband up as well? She doesn't do that. I'm going to be honest with you. I see why Matthew Knowles cheated on her and got somebody else pregnant. Was he a dummy? I think he was. But she's the type of woman that needs to know she has competition. And I think Richard Lawson, in order to save the marriage, is going to have to remind her, cuss word. You can sit up here and talk, build yourself up, and then insist on nailing me to the wall when I'm just joking about something. If you want to do that, I'll go out here, marry someone else, and get somebody else pregnant. Just to teach you this lesson. You don't do stuff like that. You don't talk about me like I'm just one of the possessions, first off. Build yourself up, fine. You don't build yourself up, then decide you're going to tear me down, and all I did was joke. That's not all. Look at how she talked. She revealed that she is while she has low self-esteem, she's also narcissistic, very self-centered. Yet she had to beat a self-esteem, or she may have been, she was definitely wrestling with it. Now, if he said these things about having to make a list of his own qualities, we would say, wait, he had to go through all of this? He wasn't just ready to go into another relationship? What's wrong with him? Why did he have to do all the self-introspection? Now, if a man does not do this, women are ready to say, look, you need to do self-introspection first and get yourself ready and all of that. You never thought about that, did you? But see, when men do it, and women say, well, you're thinking about it too much. I'm just calling it what it is. I'm not saying it's out of hatred for either gender. But the fact is, I'm going to be honest about it. We jumped on Tina and said this was a problem with black women. It's a problem with black women, and it's a problem with white women. That's what we fail to realize. It's a problem with Western women in general. So I'm going to tell you this. White women are doing this to their men too. They're not doing it with black men. They just date black men. And then they don't marry him unless he has a lot of money. They're worse than sisters when it comes down to looking at his pockets. Because a study proved that white women will marry black men only on average, when they've got 8 times as much wealth as a white guy has to have. But the point is that in dating, white women will simply just date black men, but they don't put them through the same test of manhood that they do white men. They get with white men and they get testy and bitchy. There's no nice way to say it. And I know this because white men are complaining about this and saying that that's why they're going for Asian and Hispanic women. They'll tell you this. They're making videos about this. Now, as this is being said, yes, there are black women that are doing this to black men, but it ain't all black women. But this is the stereotype that is being promoted so that more black women will do it to black men. But yeah, there are black women that are disrespecting black men like this, always trying to test the manhood, always trying to dominate him. And if they succeed, well, then they don't want him anymore anyway. And if they don't, then they just keep trying until they succeed. They never give up. Tina, I'm telling you that she pushed Matthew Knowles away. I don't know if she pushed him into the arms of another woman or not, but she did push him away. She certainly did. She's now doing it to Richard Lawson. And I think that he's doing her a favor by staying with her. And Oprah had the nerve to call Richard Lawson and say to him that he needed to say something in defense of her because the community is tearing her up. What he needs to do is get another wife. Really. I would say that. Or if he can't get another wife, he needs to make that cuss word think that he's cheating, then divorce her. He needs to do it that way. I really don't care if he cheats on her or not. Doesn't make a bit of difference to me. I'm just not allowed to tell someone to cheat. That's all. I'm not allowed to advise and encourage them to do it, but I wouldn't give a rat's behind if he went and cheated with 3 other women at the same time, videotaped it, and showed it to her and rubbed her face in it. It wouldn't make a goddamn bit of difference to me. The reason is because there are people that just generally disrespect. And when white women do this, they push white men away. When black women do it, they push black men away. And it's also not fair to the black women that don't do this to their men. That's the other issue. I honestly and truly believe that we have been conditioned to ask for too much from men and ask for too little from women, with the exception of looks. We're not conditioned to ask for too little from women with the exception of looks. Some men are conditioned to do it. I was actually expected to not care at all. I wasn't the only one. But outside of looks, we're conditioned to ask for too little from women. So we're literally telling women, you got to look perfect, but once you do, you ain't got to do nothing else. Well, that's not a good message for women. And men are being told that they got to be and do and look perfect. And they got to have perfection. We're literally telling men, you got to be a god, superhuman, to be deserving of a woman's affections, and especially a woman's private parts. And in women, well, you need to look the part, but if you really are beautiful, you don't have to have anything else. Matter of fact, if you're really beautiful and you really the bomb, you wouldn't be nice to men. Why would you be nice to men if you really look that good? Don't you know that good-looking women don't have to be nice? These are the socializations that are going on at this point. So, I'm going to close it out by saying that women and men can only be blamed for the things that they do wrong and intentionally or carelessly. Women are not all wrong. That's impossible. But women do hold the power in these relationships. So what women do with it depends on the women. You've got every reaction to this fact. You have women who don't react to it because they don't know that they've got the power. And they're not trying to take advantage of men anyway. You got women that are trying to take advantage of men. And they know they got the power and they're milking it for everything. Well, the fact is that they've got the power. It's not men. Men can choose who they don't approach and who they do approach. But men don't ever get to choose who they're actually going to be with. I mean, that's the reason why we have these bad double standards we got. That's why when a man's got 10 women, he's a player. Because it takes skill. I mean, it's very difficult for a man to sit up and see a woman he's attracted to and then pick her and choose her and wind up with her. It's not the way it usually works. Any man will tell you that, in fact, it's a numbers game. Most women they approach are not going to show interest even if she's interested. That's what many of them are going to tell you. Men's power is to determine who they will and will not approach. That's really about it. That's all. Women's power is to actually determine with whom they will be, but the men that they want do get taken. So both wind up with a test where they got to settle for something in whoever they're going to be with. They got to settle for the absence of something they want or the presence of something they don't want, or some combination, both men and women. That's what it's going to have to be. That's it. She said he wasn't perfect. That's fine. But she didn't point out that she's also not perfect. But men, if you want to have this power, or you want to not be powerless, you got to understand, first off, you got to start thinking critically about the way that women assess men. And tolerate no crap. And teach our sons not to tolerate it. You got to teach, we have to teach ourselves first, and then teach our sons. If she owns an artificial male member, right off the bat, if she owns one, then whatever she paid for that, she better be paying a hell of a lot more for the real one when she gets it. Teach your son. If he finds out that a woman he's with owns an artificial male member, He finds this out. He needs to find out what the cost was. And the minute she will not pay him more to put his to use, he leaves her. What's the reason? Simple. She's valuing an artificial male member over the real deal simply because the real one is attached to a man and might enjoy the use of it. That's all. She's simply saying, forget how much I enjoy it. The fact that you enjoy it means that you carry a negative value. That's it. Seriously? She's selling herself if that's the case. Because, hey, look, that's critical thinking. For men to get this power, men have to be ready to be by themselves, if that's what it takes, to be simply put alone. Because women are willing to do that just to make sure that they've got the so-called power in a relationship. When men learn to be willing to do the same thing, then they've got the power. They've got some power. She'll have the power to determine who she's with, actually determine who she's with. He'll have the power to determine the conditions under which they're together. But right now, we're not teaching this to our men at a young enough age. I'm hoping that this message is of benefit. Assalamu alaikum.